Hello everyone, my name is Meet Shah. In this video, we're going to cover how to integrate Facebook Login Kit API into iOS application. We will use Objective-C as our programming language. To give the quick overview of what Facebook Login Kit API is. So you might have seen on many web and mobile applications on their login page where it says login with Facebook or login with LinkedIn or login with Twitter. So that's where the Login Kit API comes into picture. So when you tap on login with Facebook, it opens a Facebook application if it's installed in your mobile device. Otherwise, it opens the default browser. In case of iOS, it will be Safari, and it will authenticate user using Facebook's profile's username and password. And once a user is authenticated, it will bring the user back to your application. So in today's video, that's what we're going to implement. We're going to start with creating a new single view application in Xcode. We will register our application on developers.facebook.com, and we will use Cocoa Powers to install the Facebook kits in our Xcode application. And then we will run our application on Xcode simulator, and we will implement login with Facebook button. It will open the Safari browser in simulator. It will authenticate the user, and it will bring back the user to our application. And upon successful login, we will navigate user to the next view where we will show user's first and last name and their profile picture that we will retrieve from their Facebook profile. So to get started, I'm on the developers.facebook.com, and first thing we want to do is register our app. So I will go to Facebook login, go to Facebook login docs, and choose iOS. And step one is to create a new application. So I'm going to click on create a new app. I'm going to name it FB integration with iOS 1. All right, so that's our app ID. So one thing we want to um, save, because we will need it later to configure our info.plist file. Next thing it says about setting our development environment. So let's go and create a new application in our Xcode. I'm going to do project. It will be single view application. I'm going to name it login kit API. And click next. I'm going to save it on my desktop. All right. So let's go back to the documentation, and it talks about using Cocoa Pods to install the dependencies. So I'm going to fire my terminal. And I'm going to go to my projects directory. I'm going to initiate the pod. So it will be pod slash space init. By the way, if you don't have Cocoa Pods installed in your machine, you can go to cocoapods.org, and it's very easy to install. It gives you option here. If you already have Xcode installed, you can do sudo gem install Cocoa Pods, and this will install Cocoa Pods in your Mac machine. So back to our command prompt. Uh, so pod init created the new file called pod file, and now I want to edit that file. I'm going to change iOS platform to latest, and you can see uh, the Facebook has told us to use Facebook FBSDK login kit. So I'm going to go copy this one here into Control X, save, and then do pod install. All right, the one thing we want to make sure is that we close our project and we start using the workspace that Cocoa Pods create for us. So if we go back to our project directory, and you can see it created the Facebook Login Kit API workspace, and let's open it. So you can see there are two projects in this workspace. One is our own that we created as for the single view application, and another one is the pods. And you can see three frameworks that it comes with it. So next thing is Facebook asking us to register our app bundle identifier. So let's go and grab that from our project. And I'm going to just copy paste here and click save. And I'm going to skip enabling SSO for now. Next thing, the step 4 is asking us to configure our info.plist file. So let's go and edit our plist file. And you want to do new and scroll all the way down and select URL types. Under URL types, you want to go to URL identifier and click new and select URL scheme and save. Basically copy this value here, which is our app ID, and you want to put it under URL scheme, save. Next thing it wants is to save these key and values in our info.plist. So we're done with the URL scheme. So I'm going to minimize that and I'm going to create a new one and copy and paste the values from their documentation. Next thing is Facebook display name. It'll be all right. Next thing is configuring the schemes. So let's click a new one. And you can see it's an array. So let's change this from string to array. Okay. And the first in that value is let's insert the first value in the array. It will be FB API. Second one will be messenger, FB auth. So third value will be payout, and this is the fourth one here. All right. So this conclude editing our info.plist file. And now going forward is Chucky is basically telling us about how to configure the app delegate and all the little bit of Objective-C coding here. So before we get started on doing some coding, I want to clean up my project file. I don't like to use a storyboard because they're very heavy files to open and comes in a lot of memory. I prefer the individual XIB. One thing I want to do is organize my files a little bit better way. So as the project grows bigger, it's easy to navigate. And I want to do new controllers. So back to the info.plist, since we deleted our main storyboard, so I want to remove this guy from here. And now let's go back to app delegate and let's configure our what the Facebook basically suggested. So let's import the FB core, FB core kit, header file, and is how to instantiate the instance of Facebook. All right. And this is just basically copy this whole URL, oh sorry, the method here, and put it in our app delegate. Okay. Next we want to do is I'm going to delete these default view controllers And I'm going to create a new view controller. So I'm going to name it as login. This will be UI view controller. So it will be login view controller. And since we deleted the storyboard, I want to create individual XIB for all our view controllers. And it will be under view controllers. So let's create some meaningful login UI, um, even though we're not going to use username and password field. And this will be our password field. And then let's implement the login button. So we'll implement the constraint for the auto layout here. And so this we're not going to use this just to give the create a dummy login page. And next thing we want to do is add UI view. So the height will be 30. So this UI view will be basically where we're going to put our login with the Facebook button. So I'm going to create an outlet here. All right. And just add constraint. Next thing we want to do is synthesize. All right. Now so next thing we want to do is basically we want to create the login with the Facebook button, and we want to put it in that view, that FB login button view. So let's create, so let's import the framework here. FB SDK core. Attach it. And we want to do FB SDK. So we already implemented we've already pulled in the core. We want to do login kit as well. So FB SDK login kit edge. So here we want to do FB SDK login button. We want to do FB SDK allocation init, and we want to define the delegate. We want to assign the delegate. So going back here, let's do FB SDK login kit. You do FB SDK login button delegate. So this will basically will give us the delegate methods that we can call when the user tap on the login button. So back to our implementation file, we want to do login button delegate will go self, and we want to do login button dot center. The center of the login button will be the center of our view that we want to where we want to put it. So it will be FB good and center, and we want to define what permission that we want from user's profile. So it will be an array of, we want to public profile, and to his email, and we want to self-view, add subview, you want to login button. So this basically add the login button to a login page. Um, the next thing we want to do is implement the delegate methods. So let's go to the documentation of the delegate, and let's copy this one here, the one that is required, and do program mark fpsdk login button others, and you want to do, if there is an error, um, of course you want to handle this error in a better way. You want to show proper alert to the user, but we're just going to log right now, and we'll do if the result is, so if the user cancel the login, then it will not be the error, it will be the result, but the result will be the cancelled. So we want to user cancel the login. So obviously, again, this one also you want to um, handle it in a better way. Or if the result is declined permissions. So sometimes you might request like access to users profile, the email address that we did so far here, two things, but there's a mode that you can request, and if user doesn't like it, they can decline the permission. In that case, it will come inside in this loop. So again, you want to handle this one as well in a better way. I'm going to do permissions. All right. So if everything is good, so again, this is decline permission is NS set. We can see. So we want to do is if count is more than 0, and if everything is fine, then we want to take user to next view. Right. So user logged in successfully. So for that we want to create another view controller, and I'm going to name it account view controller, where we will show the first name and last name of the user and their email, their profile image from the Facebook profile. So upon successful login, um, here we will take user to the account view controller. So let's import account view controller. I'm going to account view controller. Location, init with a new file bundle new, and the name of the new file is the same as our view controller. And I also wanted to initiate my navigation controller. So I'm going to name it nav controller. Allocate init with root view controller, which will be account view controller. I'm going to self present view controller, which will be the nav controller. Completion, there's no methods anything under the completion. There's also one method is a logout button, logout option method. We can also implement that. So let's take this one and put it under delegate methods pragma, and sorry, this will be the curly bracket. All right. Next, we want to do is upon successful login, we have specified that we want to take user to the account view controller. So let's modify our account view controller, and because basically we want to show users first name and last name here. So I'm going to we first want to import frameworks. So that'd be FPSDK, login kit, FPSDK. Sorry, so we want to do FPSDK core kit. You want to do FPSDK profile, and in our view did load method, we want to request, we want to call FPSDK profile to get user's Facebook profile. So I'm going to do it to be asynchronous. So we want to dispatch get main queue, and here we're going to FPSDK profile load current profile with completion, and you want to use if profile, then we want to set the navigation title to say welcome first name and last name. String with format. I'm going to say hello, and this will be profile, and it'll be name. So we can also do first name and last name, or you can just do profile.name, whichever we can do either way. So next thing we want to do is take the image URL from the user's profile. So we now have the profile here, a profile object here. So we want to retrieve the URL. So it'd be profile image URL for, we want to do image URL for picture mode, and it'd be FPSDK picture mode square. And since we're going to set it in as a right bar button in our navigation, so I want to have the size CG size make 0s. Sorry, it will be like 35 or 25. So I'm going to keep 35 here. It depends on your requirement. If you want to show the full picture, the bigger picture, so you can specify whatever size of the image you want. And next thing you want to do is UI image, UI image with data, and it's data with content of URL, and pass the URL that we grab from. Next thing I want to do is set that image as the button image view button for the UI bar button. So I'm going to do allocation, init with frame, So it says EG red make 0035 35. Now we do profile view. And I want to show the image as like a circle image. You might have seen on many applications. So I want to do corner radius with profile view, frame, size, width, divided by 2. We do profile, groups to bound. Yes. Is there interaction? Yes. Yeah, I want to do UI tab texture. And we can just define some method here. Program mark. Void. Do something. And I'm going to add profile view, add gesture recognizer. And I'm going to create image view. It will be your image view. We need with an image, which will be, we already have the image here. I want to profile view, add sub view. Now let's create bar button item. Location, init with custom view, which will be our profile view, and set it as right bar button item. Alright. Let's run this project in our Xcode simulator. One thing we didn't do is we didn't tell our app delegate to launch our application with our login view controller. So let's do that. I'm going to log in. Here. I'm going to do self.window, UI window, location, init with the frame, which will be our UI screen, main screen, bounds, and then you want to do login view controller. Sorry. Location, init with the nib file, and the name of the nib file is the login view controller also. Then you want to do self window root view control will be our login view, and then want to do self.window, make key visible, and return yes. Eventually, what we want to do is once we authenticate the user successfully, we want to configure our did finish launching with option to not launch login view controller every time, because the user already logged in and we will have the token, so it will be like FB SDK SX token. I think I do BSD FB um, FSS token, current access token. So if there is already a token from the previous logged in, we want to take user directly to account view controller. Else we will take them to our login view controller. So we can configure here account view controller. And we will do UI navigation controller. I'm going to save the window root nav controller. Alright, so let's launch and run our application in a simulator. So it's running our application. I have a breakpoint here. And you can see since we have not have the user logged in authenticated with a Facebook profile, so it went to the login view controller. I'm going to hit yes. And this is our dummy login view page with the username and password text field and with the login button, which we have not hooked up anywhere. And you can see the continue with the Facebook. So we didn't design this button, just defining the FB SDK login button in our view did load automatically put this button here. So let's click on continue with Facebook, and you can see it prompt Facebook login kit API into iOS application wants to use facebook.com, and click continue, and it opens the Safari browser, and you can see it asking the app wants to use your public profile and email address because we have defined both values here in our read permissions. And when I click continue as meet, it's going to bring the user back to our application, and I should have put the breakpoint here, but you can see it came here in account view controller, and it navigated user to the account view, and it pulled the first name and last name from my profile and my profile picture here in the round bar button. So that's our code is. So if I do here, so let's launch it again. I'm going to run one more time, and this time since we have the user authenticated successfully, it will not go in a login view controller. Instead, it already has the access token, so it's going to navigate user directly to the account view controller. And so we came to account view controller, and we have the profile. And here's all the profile object, the first name and last name. You can also say the name, and here's a image URL. And if I let it run, you can see the profile picture and the last name here. So one thing we didn't do is we didn't implement the logout option for the user, so that we can do. I know I implemented the the option here, login button did logout, but um, if you want, we can do. You can also implement on your different controllers. So we can do. So we already defined like the the selector when the user tap on this button. So what we can do here is we can define, let's import fp SDK login kit, fp SDK login manager, and I want to do here is fp SDK login manager init, and then I want to do login manager logout. So when the user will tap on uh, the profile button here, obviously you want to do it different way, but just to give you the demo how to log out the user, and this will delete user's token from the session, and we can you can send the user back to the login view controller. So it will be login view controller. Sorry, I don't think I input it here, so let's do. And then I want to do self present sorry, login view controller animated, yes, and new. So let's run this application again. So since we already authenticated, it brings the user here, and I tap on the button, and you can see since I've defined the selector do something, it brings here in our method. It log out the user, and it's going to throw the user back to the login page. So if I run this application one more time, if I put the breakpoint here, you will see that we don't have the token in the session. Point, and you can see there was no token in FP SDK session, so it brings the user back to a login view controller. And from here, you can just follow the same path. Sorry. Continue with the Facebook, authenticate the user, and come back and do whatever you want from there. So that concludes our today's video. You can see we successfully integrated Facebook Login Kit API. We successfully authenticated the user. We also implemented the logout button, and we successfully called the user's profile, and we retrieved their the first name and last name and the profile image from the Facebook profile. So I hope you like our video, and please subscribe to our channel. And if you have any issues and comments, feel free to post it on a comment section. I'm also going to share the GitHub repository that I'm going to set up with this demo code base. So if you feel free to check out the code base from there as well. And if there's any issue, you can also open the issue on the GitHub project repository. So thank you for watching the video. You all, everyone, have a nice day.